Good morning. My name's Melissa Lynch and I'm the Executive Director of ICT Category Management and Sourcing within the Department of Customer Services, Open Data and Small and Family Business. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which this event's taking place, the Yagara and Terribile people, and pay my respects to elders both past, present and emerging. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we kick off today. Just in the event that an alarm goes off, emergency exits are on my right and at the rear of the auditorium. The assembly area is the grassed area in front of the Queensland Art Gallery. And if you need the bathrooms, they're directly across the hallway as you exit the auditorium. Now, I hope everyone here has had the chance to get appropriately caffeinated this morning, but if not, you'll definitely have another chance later on. We're very, very pleased to be here again at the beautiful State Library this morning for our second Partners in Technology briefing for 2025. We've got the chance to hear about the various initiatives and opportunities across our sector. Great to see so many of you here in person, and thanks for making the time to be here this morning. And thank you to everyone that's also joining us live today via the live stream. Today, our three speakers will take us through to about 9:20. That will be followed by a Q&A session until about 9:35. We'll then head next door to the Queensland Terrace for some morning tea and networking inspired by the topics we're going to hear about today. Before we introduce our first presenters, in recognition of Queensland Small Business Month, we do have a special address from our Minister.
Welcome to Partners in Technology. I apologise for not being able to be there today, but just so many things on this really hectic Small Business Month. I'd like to acknowledge a few key people though. Firstly, to Jane Stewart from Queensland Health, to Jeremy James from the QBCC, and also Frank Benin from my own department. I also acknowledge the work of Melissa Lynch and her team, my department's Data and Digital Government Group, who have organised today's event. Special call out to you, Melissa. Now, as the Minister in the new Department of Customer Service, Open Data and Small and Family Business, I am focused 100% on the customer, and that is everyday Queenslanders. As a government, we've been very upfront that we want to be the most customer-focused government in Queensland. Now, that means instilling a people-first framework in relation to the way that we frame government services that ultimately delivers the nation's best interactions between everyday Queenslanders and the services that we provide. It means reshaping how the government serves people and business, particularly small business, making it easier for them to get the information that they want, no matter what channel they use. Now, that could be phone or face-to-face or potentially online, which is growing as the preferred interaction for most people. Now, we're building our digital capability and platforms, making it easier for government to deliver services, offering features such as personalised dashboards, form tracking and secure digital identity integration. Now, any digital transformation to improve customer service must be enabled by changes in open data, improving a culture of information sharing within government departments. We have seen this successfully happen already in relation to the open hospitals for Queensland Health. The rise and adoption of artificial intelligence, also opportunities are bound from that. We need to make sure that we enhance the customer service experience. But firstly, we must ensure that artificial intelligence, AI, is used within a robust ethical framework, one which gives confidence to everyday Queenslanders that their data won't be inappropriately used or accessed. And finally, any digital ecosystem built to serve Queenslanders must be rigorously defended and protected from cyber threats, which continue, sadly, to multiply. Cybersecurity, a hugely important issue. Now, in order to do this, the government will require support and assistance of many ICT small and family businesses to give effect to this vision. Now, by embracing digital transformation, we're not just improving the overall customer service experience, we're also enhancing efficiency and responsiveness and productivity across government. This means faster service delivery time and better outcomes for everyday Queenslanders. While every month should be Small Business Month, we want to ensure that particularly in the month of May, we do all we can to celebrate and support this vital sector. Queensland is home to almost 62,000 small and family businesses that operate in the professional, scientific and technical service industries. That's 62,000. My goal as the Minister is to grow that number, but we have to put in place the right conditions, the right investment for job creation. I've made it very clear, I don't just want small and family businesses to survive, I want to see them thrive. Earlier this month, I launched our Small and Family Business First action statement, which is backed by more than $100 million of new funding. $100 million of new funding. The key outcomes of this action statement include making it easier to access government services, tailored support to start, grow and thrive, responding to red tape and other pain points, and boosting procurement opportunities. Now, picking up on procurement, we want to make it easier for small and family businesses to tender for government work. That means simplified procurement processes, standardised contracts, and more tendering opportunities for small and family businesses. We'll establish a small and family business innovation pathway to engage Queenslanders' small and family businesses for short-term initiatives. Our Big Partners for Small Business program supports the critical role diverse supply chains play in delivering real value and long-term benefits for Queensland communities. And this is true for the ICT industry too. I look forward to making more announcements over the next few months as we move to aligning and implementing policies and strategies concerning digital government to make sure that we enhance small business procurement opportunities. The action statement is available on the Business Queensland website, and I encourage you to read more about how this will actually help our vibrant small business community. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day to join us for today's Partners in Technology event, and happy Queensland Small Business Month to everyone.
Thanks to that address from our Minister, the Honourable Steve Minnikin MP. You would have heard he would have loved to be here today, but he's travelling throughout the state under Queensland Small Business Month. I'll move on now to introducing our first presenters, Jane Stewart and Carlo Terribile. Jane is the Executive Director and Carlo is a Senior Director at Corporate Enterprise Solutions, Corporate Services Division at Queensland Health. Jane has spent over 30 years in the Queensland Public Service, primarily driving and enabling ERP corporate solutions and service delivery outcomes for human resource, payroll, rostering, business, finance and logistics. Jane's responsible for the strategic direction and operational management of Queensland Health's corporate solutions that underpin 16 hospital and health services across Queensland and is accountable for the largest, most complex payroll solution in the Queensland public sector, with a fortnightly payroll exceeding 130,000 paid employees. Carlo brings over 25 years of senior leadership experience in IT across a range of public sector organisations, with a strong track record in digital transformation and delivering large-scale enterprise solutions. Carlo is committed to continuous improvement and innovation, with a clear focus on delivering positive outcomes that benefit frontline workers. Jane and Carlo will provide an overview of the breadth, size and complexity of Queensland Health's corporate business solutions, the transformation journey to date, and how leveraging a transition to modern cloud-based solutions supported by collaborative partnerships will support the future roadmap intended to unlock greater value to the health system. Over to you.
Thanks, Mel. Oh, it's bright up here. Lovely to be here with you. I know that Mel has already done an acknowledgement of our traditional custodians, but I would just like to take a moment to acknowledge the First Nations people that work within Queensland Health, that work very hard every day to bridge the gap and deliver safe and equitable healthcare to all of Queenslanders. Lovely to be here today. I'm not normally nervous at these things, but I am a little bit this morning. Good to see some friendly faces in the room. It has been quite a journey for me in Queensland Health. I have been on that journey for as long as what you will see through the solution slides today. And it'd be exciting to share that with you, but more importantly, share where we're heading in terms of the future. I've got to remember to do the clicking. I'll warm up in a minute. Okay. Queensland Health is an enormously complex organisation, and the ability to deliver corporate solutions that all of our staff within Queensland Health use is no mean feast. It's big, it's complex, and some pretty big numbers on the slides here today. So as Mel said, I lead an organisation of over 1,000 staff within Corporate Services Division. We're part of the department, and we service 16 hospital and health services across the state. Workforce is an absolute number one strategic priority for Queensland Health. We have well over 100 FTE, but from a headcount perspective, you appreciate there's a lot of part-time workers within Queensland Health. We pay over 140,000 payslips go out the door every fortnight. Queensland Health is a 24/7 rostering organisation. You can appreciate through the hospital and healthcare services, they never stop. That goes ongoingly each and every day, and there are over 900 rostered shifts every fortnight in Queensland Health. In terms of delivering those pay outcomes for our staff, there are over 134,000 payroll forms and changes that come through our corporate solutions, and within those forms themselves there are multiple transactions and entries. Outside of the workforce space, we have an enormously complex distribution and logistic requirement each and every day. Hundreds of facilities across Queensland Health, over 1 million medical products are delivered every day within Queensland Health. All of those numbers, all of those volumes are running through our corporate solutions each and every day. Carlo and his team do an incredible job to support those technology solutions and respond to those demands. So it is always challenging to keep the lights on, to deliver the services, and to try and find some capacity and focus to modernise what we do. So it's been quite a journey. And this is certainly not all of it, but a little bit of a snapshot. I'm sure you will all appreciate a big part of this journey started back in 2010. We went live on our new corporate solution platforms, used our SAP solution, the HR payroll space, and our Infor, at the time called WorkBrain product, now Workforce Management, for our rostering capability. Although that rostering capability was very much just used within our payroll central team. So a big journey from then. Spent many years, obviously, working through embedding those solutions, and we did some very major upgrade work back in 2016. We've had a significant program of work that kicked off in 2017-2018, which is referred to as our Integrated Workforce Management Program, and I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. And that's been quite a journey in terms of providing capability to the frontline in relation to employee management self-service, but also starting to better connect the rostering and changes in roster activity that happens on a daily basis and how that integrates back into our HR payroll solution. We've been on that journey for several years, and then in 2019 we had two significant changes and expansions in terms of how our solutions were used. We had the go live of our finance solution, which included all of our supply chain, asset management, procurement and logistics aspects, as well as the rollout of our first stage of our Integrated Workforce Management Program, which was our MyHR solution to provide employee manager self-service to our staff. So we've been embedding those aspects for several years now, and we are an exciting time now where we have gone live with over 67,000 staff are utilising new and enhanced capability in our rostering solution at the front line and integrating that within our MyHR employee management self-service solution. We're at a point now where we really need to start to modernise and look at what our future holds, and that is when we've started to look at replatforming our solutions into cloud. Carlo's going to talk a little bit more about that journey when he comes up shortly. So it has been quite complex, very hard, and a lot of incredible people that work for me that have made this happen, but certainly not without a lot of collaboration with our frontline staff. The solutions itself, there's a lot of functionality that holds all of that together, and whilst we work incredibly positively with our two critical partners, SAP and Infor, in terms of our ERP solutions, we know that there are other things we need to do in terms of that end-to-end capability. In our MyHR solution, that is where our employees can access capability around managing their own employee details, being able to simply update their bank details and things like that, but also provide a single front door for them to make requests, etc. And in our payroll solution, we've obviously got an enormous amount of complexity that goes through there to calculate pays. It is really hard. There are high volumes, and we certainly need to ensure that that core functionality can do that in the most simplest way going forward. And then we have very strong integration with our Infor workforce management solution that supports rostering, where we recognise our award interpretation sits within that solution, our leave accruals and calculations, and that information needs to pass on a very regular basis across both our enterprise solutions very accurately and timely to ensure that we can deliver an integrated solution to our workforce. So I'll talk a little bit about the journey to date in terms of integrated workforce management. So as I said, we've been on quite a journey to ensure that our frontline clinicians can actually roster their staff directly in the corporate solution so that there's not a level of duplication and passing of information across the system. That journey has been quite challenging, and we have also, as we've gone through that process, certainly look to see how we can ensure all of our workforce have a single and easy way to access our solutions. So stage one was very much about piloting with a number of our hospital and health services and learning a lot in terms of how they do their work. And then through stage two, we rolled out our MyHR solution. That was leveraging the capability in SAP with Fiori and ABAP, and we know that those capabilities are now starting to be ageing, and we're looking to move to more modern capabilities, but it did enable all of our staff to be able to access the solution on their mobile phone, log in at any time, and manage the information that ultimately ensured that we paid them correctly. So in 2019, we went live in MyHR across Queensland Health. There were 67,000 forms that would normally be processed by the payroll office were now automatically updating into the system. So an incredible amount of efficiency achieved through that process. And as we've moved into stage three, we've now rolled out integrated rostering to, as I said, over 67,000 nurses across Queensland Health. So an incredible achievement. So now our staff are able to see exactly what's happening with their roster, where they need to work, put their shift requests in, etc., on an hourly, daily basis, and they can see exactly what's going to move through into a pay outcome from them through that particular project. We're about to enter stage four, which is to roll out that capability to all of the other occupational groups within Queensland Health. I'm going to pause there. I think, Carlo, you're going to come up and talk about our second major program, which is our corporate enterprise solution replatforming program. And this is where it gets really exciting in terms of what the future holds for us, because as we move from on-premise into cloud, that opens all sorts of opportunities for us.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks for coming along today, everybody. Corporate Enterprise Solutions Replatforming Program, or CESA as we call it, really is about moving our platforms to modern cloud-based solutions which will future-proof our enterprise solutions because these solutions are critical to what we do. And I guess what we're doing is supporting the future roadmap, really about enhancing the functionality, improved efficiency, long-term sustainability by utilising and leveraging these upgraded cloud-based solutions. So right at the moment, what we're doing is working through the our HR payroll. We completed a proof of concept around that, and well into the HR payroll and rostering solution update. Rostering through our Infor solution is having a step first in terms of going to SciTech with SciTech and their QCloud solution, but we have a pathway to go to their strategic cloud solution over the next couple of years. But we're doing that at the moment. AWS is our hyperscaler with regards to that solution, and stage 3 will basically be, so we'll complete that for our payroll and rostering solutions, and then we'll move into the upgrade and move to cloud, or SAP's strategic cloud solution for the SAP S/4HANA solution we already have in place for finance, business, logistics, etc. And then moving on to future opportunities in a little while, which I'll talk about. Look, I guess the really important thing is this is about modernising not only modernising the platform, but it's enabling new technologies as well. So as an example, SAP has a business technology platform, BTP as they call it, and it's really going to help us adopt contemporary application development techniques, contemporary tools, which will really help us move forward, but also assist in the mantra, I guess, that SAP and many other big ERP vendors talk about these days, about keeping the core clean. So let's minimise the amount of customisation that we have to complete in our core ERPs, and do that in tools around the outside of it. And SAP's BTP platform is what they choose. So it's exciting, because not only will that allow us to keep the core clean, but it'll also help us innovate and use that platform to innovate contemporary technologies, contemporary integration technologies, which are all cloud-based, which will help in the long term. And also better support for analytics. There's a huge demand in Queensland Health for data, and we provide a considerable amount of data to hospital and health services and other areas of the department for their analytic requirements, and certainly moving down this path will provide us with better capability in terms of being able to provide that data. And also, as the Minister mentioned in his opening, artificial intelligence, the adoption of artificial intelligence, and for us perhaps just exploring it a little bit more in the context of the solutions that we provide is something that we'll be able to better position ourselves for. And also automation. There's a number of automation initiatives that are underway within corporate services already, and this will provide a better opportunity for automation outside of just the normal RPA solutions that are used at the moment. So overall, it's about adoption of cloud-based frameworks, some contemporary licensing arrangements which give us a lot more flexibility than we've had in the past, enhanced functionality, and that all equals long-term sustainability, which is what we're really looking for. And it also supports the future investment opportunities through that corporate business solutions can provide via our future roadmap. And so I just want to spend a couple of minutes now on the roadmap and what that's looking like. So we spent a fair bit of time over the last couple of years working on this roadmap, and before I get into that, I just want to give you a bit of an understanding of what Corporate Services Division's role is in the organisation. And it's really about being a trusted and supportive partner, which enables leadership and delivers a range of services and solutions that empower the front line across Queensland Health. And it's really about empowering the front line. So in partnership with a lot of senior stakeholders across the organisation, we have developed a draft corporate business solutions roadmap. It's going through its final consultation phases at the moment. And that's really going to help us show how contemporary corporate technology solutions can better support the health system. And while the approach is around modernising and uplifting core technologies and solutions, at its core, it's really about our frontline. It's about providing Queenslanders with access to quality and safe healthcare, and the real focus and the centre of the corporate business solutions roadmap strategy is patients, as you can see on that diagram. So to get to where we got to with these roadmaps, we developed a couple of guiding principles to help align the roadmap to our strategic and operational policies across the organisation. So there's 5 guidelines that we've really put in place. One's around creating value, and that's a real focus on working within that customer-centric model, and also recognising that there might be local processes or process variations that need to be maintained, but we also need to maintain internal controls across those solutions. We need to digitally empower the workforce, better range of tools to uplift workforce capability and easier access to information and promote innovation and collaboration. Enhancing efficiency and data-informed decisions. So going back to the data conversation from before, really focusing on a data-driven decision-making model across the whole of the organisation, and simplifying business process and providing a better user experience is also a really important part of this. The better user experience is absolutely critical, particularly as we have lots of young people coming through the organisation these days and are looking for modern tools and techniques to be able to do what they do on a daily basis. And also to simplify our footprint. It's about getting rid of redundant systems, it's about reducing complexity with the technology that we use, and again, that automation. Automating repetitive tasks is a really important part of the strategy as well. So the areas of opportunity that you've identified, there's 6 areas that have been identified as being critical at the moment. In the areas of human resources, payroll, rostering, we've already heard the IWFM journey from Jane, finance, procurement and supply chain. Procurement and supply chain, there are huge opportunities for the organisation to really improve where we are today, and that continues. And there's other areas there such as enterprise asset management. I've just been given the wind up, so I better hurry up because I've got to hand over back to Jane. Look, I think at the end of the day, our focus is on our people, and it's about ensuring the workforce is well managed and supported. It's equipped with tools and information that they need to perform at their best, and ultimately it's about better processes and simpler systems which will reduce administrative overhead and allow healthcare professionals to get back to focus on patient care and service delivery. I'll just hand back to Jane to finish up.
Thanks, Carlo. And look, well, I want to acknowledge, and both of our strategic partners are in the room today, SAP and Infor, and I want to acknowledge that we couldn't have got here without them. We do recognise that we need far more support from industry to ensure that our roadmap can be successful in the future. So partnerships and collaboration is key for us. That opportunity to recognise where we may have some gaps or needing supporting technology within that footprint is really important. Working with experts and specialised capability within the industry is really important to us. We don't have all the answers, we don't know that, and our vendors have one slice of that, but we need that external expertise as well. And we have a very blended workforce as well, where we recognise that we need contingent labour and contingent expertise to blend on a day-to-day basis to work side by side with our public servants is really important to us too. So really acknowledge the important role that industry plays in what we're trying to do. And we know that we couldn't have got where we were today without collaboration and partnership, and we know that we can't get to the future without that as well. So really appreciated the opportunity to talk today. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Carlo. And what an insightful journey they've shared with us today. I think that we can't underestimate the scale and complexity that they have to deal with on a 24/7 operating environment. So lots to do, and as they've mentioned, those partnerships that we have with industry and with our own internal frontline staff are fundamental to making sure that they can have success in what's ahead of them. Introducing our second presenter now, Jeremy James. Jeremy's the Chief Digital and Information Officer at Queensland Building and Construction Commission. He's a seasoned digital transformation leader with extensive experience in both the public and private sectors. He's held senior roles focusing on helping government agencies and commercial entities leverage digital technologies to enhance operations and service delivery. In his approach, Jeremy highlights the critical role of the transition phase in organisational change, which bridges the gap between current operations and future strategies. He advocates for a structured approach that includes clearly defined capabilities, early stakeholder involvement, and precise communication to ensure successful transformation. His insights reflect a deep understanding of the complexities involved in digital change initiatives and the necessity of cohesive planning and execution. In October 2022, QBCC's first digital strategy and roadmap was approved. The digital strategy provides direction for the digital portfolio, which in its first year delivered 32 projects, ranging from major technology uplift, legacy replacement, as well as capability uplift in information management and data governance. Over to you, Jeremy.
So I'm going to move around a little bit. Hopefully that mic's on. I just wanted to add my acknowledgement of country to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander custodians of country across Queensland. QBCC is across the whole of Queensland, and we work closely with all communities. So welcome. I wanted to set a bit of a scene in regards to the approach we've taken within QBCC and start from a strategic lens. And obviously we have a strategic drivers that the organisation has to meet. As was mentioned, in 2022, we delivered our first digital strategy for the organisation. That came through a number of different strategic lenses. One of them was the governance review that was delivered by Dr. Varghese, which was across the whole QBCC and delivered 17 recommendations and 77 actions. That governance review has completed or will complete by June this year, and all of those actions and recommendations have been completed. So that set the scene from a strategic perspective in regards to the whole organisation and what needed to be achieved and why. Also from that body of work, we also then were able to drive the digital strategy for the organisation. We committed to working with what was brought into the government, which was called the Interdepartmental Steering Committee. Government like long names for making groups to make decisions. And so what we were able to do within QBCC was drive a digital services business case through to that committee and drive the digital portfolio, which we're in the middle of at the moment. So that strategic opportunity really helped us set the scene for what was spoken about before, the first year of that 23-24. We delivered 32 projects. Interestingly, within those 32 projects, I had 2 new technologies. So it wasn't about the technologies themselves, it wasn't about bringing in new technologies, it was all about how do we make better use of the technologies we have. And so we've had that focus on a continual basis. So the challenge then was, within that strategic intent, was how do we then drive a focus around business change and business need. So within the Digital Portfolio Office, which we also set up as part of the Digital Services business case, we set up a digital product model that actually helped us drive change across all business areas across the organisation. And I engage with each of the SLT or executive team members across all divisions. They own the digital change just like I do. And that's again something that the organisation's first time that's occurred. I just wanted to also flag the other strategic lenses that we have within QBCC. Obviously with the change of government last year, there was some new approaches being applied into the organisation which we have to meet as well, and we are definitely on the right track in doing that. So there was a body of work created called the Building Reg Reno. Number of tranches flagged in that Building Reg Reno, Tranche 1 and Tranche 2. It's really about process change and process improvement across QBCC and other areas of construction impacts. Tranche 3 and Tranche 4 of that body of work talks about the digitisation. It talks about bureaucracy, reducing that bureaucracy and reducing the red tape, and we're really focused on helping that process occur. The other lens we've got strategically is the Productivity Commission, and you're fully aware of the Productivity Commission that's just been created, the commissioners that have just been engaged, and the first body of work that they've been asked to do, which is around the construction industry. And obviously QBCC plays a part in that process to make sure that the construction industry is performing the way it should be for Queenslanders. So that's kind of the strategic lens that I just wanted to play. I'm not going to be talking for 15 minutes, which you'll probably be really positive on, because my voice tends to get very monotonous and people fall asleep. So I'm going to play a bit of a video in regards to giving you the context of the digital strategy we've put in place, and then I'll talk a little bit after that in regards to the roadmap and the work that we've done, and more importantly, the work we're about to do and the engagement with industry that we have. hopefully this works.
QBCC's digital strategy is all about the capability of our business and our people to connect with our customers and provide simple, easy to use digital services. QBCC's digital strategy is designed to keep us in step with the ever-evolving landscape we do business in, so that the technology and systems we put in place and the skill set our workforce acquires empowers us to deliver. QBCC's digital strategy and roadmap with 6 programs of focus is a holistic approach to uplift our digital services, helping us to evolve and adapt to be the building regulator Queensland needs. Focus on customer experience. Aged and disconnected applications and technology systems make it difficult to get a single comprehensive view of a customer. Our digital licensing work to date has focused on ensuring we have a stable, reliable and secure licensing environment for our people to maintain current licensing services for our customers. While we make these necessary updates now, we are also looking to the future with initial planning of our new enterprise digital licensing platform for QBCC and our customers. Provision of accessible and quality data. Our ability to improve customer experience and recognise developing trends in our industry to evolve strategically and operationally starts with quality data. Standardised dashboards that consolidate data will allow us to make decisions with more regularity, confidence and precision. Simple, easy and efficient services. Transactions and exchanges that have traditionally been undertaken in person are increasingly being undertaken online. To meet this trend, our business needs to offer more online services with responsive and easy-to-use interfaces. The new case management system now running on Salesforce is another example of system improvements that will bring great productivity improvements through standardisation, the consolidation of information, and the automation of common and repetitive tasks. Empowering employees to deliver. Our digital transformation will require our people to learn new ways to connect with each other and our customers through the new technologies and processes we adopt. Reducing manual labour and providing opportunities to work smarter and increase customer satisfaction. In the hands of our new QBCC Academy, our learning management system will bring great opportunity for everyone to continuously learn. Leverage foundational digital platforms. As the internet has grown, so too has the use of cloud-based solutions. We are now leveraging cloud platforms as one of the core pillars of our digital strategy. Examples of this include Salesforce's, Technology One, ServiceNow, and Microsoft 365. Iterate and evolve. Our customer-facing services need to be consistent, responsive and equitable, allowing us the agility to evolve gradually, avoiding unnecessary disruption. We are starting this journey and responding to this need with the changes brought through the reset, and over time we will have a digital capability that will be effective in supporting and responding to all of these change horizons.
So just as a side note, when I presented this to staff, I put a competition at the front of this. Can anyone see what there was a spelling mistake in one of the words. It was a US spelling, and I did it on purpose just to see if people were watching. The good thing was I had, I think, about 30 to 40 responses from staff, so people were watching, which was always good. So there was a word called labour. I spelt it as a US spelling. Anyway. So it's always good when they're engaging and they're actually listening to what we're talking about, which is positive. So I just wanted to talk a little bit now about the roadmap of work we're doing. So I've spoken about the strategic lens a little bit, obviously with the video in regards to the how that's being enabled through the organisation. What we've, I guess, applied from a roadmap perspective is really driving a business need and a business outcome approach. So we've talked within our strategy around multiple horizons. So we have a multiple horizons approach. QBCC had, I'm proud to say it doesn't as much anymore, it still does a little bit, but we had a very significant legacy technology set which really held us back. So that really struggled the organisation to drive change for customers. So we had to spend a lot of time really planning how we were going to move away from legacy technologies, and it's not an easy process. So we did a lot of that in the foundational space. We're moving away from the legacy. The last, I guess, really big legacy technology we have is our licensing platform, and we're moving to a Salesforce public sector solutions approach with licensing. The benefit and the positive in regards to that approach, not necessarily from a Salesforce perspective, I know there's a few Salesforce people here, but the real benefit for that from us is not Salesforce platform itself, but the fact that it's able to free our people up to focus on other things that are focused in the customer space. So we're also engaging with TMR, with the first agency, with engaging with TMR to enable the Queensland Digital Builders Licence through the digital wallet. So that'll be released this calendar year. So that has enabled us to free us up to do that. So it's not the platform itself, it's just enabled us to do other things as well. We've really focused as well about, you saw the 6 themes, we continue that focus through everything we do. So we've got programs of work, as every portfolio does, we've got projects that deliver stuff, but every theme is woven into those projects and programs, and it's about the business. So I have, within everything that we deliver, a business owner that we have to co-lead with everything we do. So whether that's a regulatory space, whether that's the customer space, whether it's a strategic change, whether it's the HR space from a capability perspective, we work together and jointly do that. Now, obviously, the good thing would be, yes, it works perfectly, it doesn't, but we continue to drive that approach. We want to do that. The other bit I wanted to talk to as well is to say the digital portfolio office that we have in place to drive these changes across the organisation, in my mind, has a time box on it. It's not a continuous process. I'm not going to have a digital portfolio office for the organisation forever. The intent for this is to drive this into the business for them to take ownership of their own change, and for me not to have a digital portfolio office across the organisation. That's really what we want to get to, and so every digital change is driven by the business owners, driven by what the customer needs, driven by what the process and the services that we need to deliver, not driven by me. So that's really what we want to get to in regards to that continuous improvement. They're probably the key things for us, and I'm happy to obviously have questions later on in regards to what we've done and what we're doing and the technologies we've got in place to do that. Probably the last thing I just wanted to focus on was, and I mentioned earlier about the portfolio not driving new technology into the organisation, and that's true. So 23-24, I implemented a data warehouse, which was Snowflake, and I think that was it in regards to the new technologies that we had in place in the organisation. Everything else we had, we'd already put in place over either before I started or as we commenced within the organisation. So it was more about how we take advantage of those and how we probably align them better to what the business needed to achieve. We've done a lot of work with some fairly major platforms across the organisation, especially around Amazon Web Services, the Azure platform, especially with our cyber capabilities. We're improving those on a continuous basis, and we are looking at new technologies to help in that process as well. So that'll be something we continue to do over time as well. I'll probably pause there. Yep. And thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Jeremy. Again, it's another presentation where we've been provided some insight into the journey that QBCC has been on in addressing their digital portfolio. And you can see from what's been mentioned that it's definitely a portfolio that's supported by the adoption of cloud solutions, underpinned by effective strategic partnerships, and an organisation with a really strong customer service focus. So innovation looks like it's the next stage of the journey. I'll introduce our third presenter for today, Frank Deneen. Frank is the Small Business Procurement Advisor for the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. He's passionate about delivering meaningful impact for communities across Queensland through public spending before, during and after the Games. Frank's career has been focused on addressing social and economic issues through roles within government, community and business. His recent role as Director of Goods and Services in the Queensland Government prioritise quality jobs and value beyond price through government procurement and diverse supply chains. Frank is going to share hints and tips about getting ready and selling to government, including links to tools and other resources. Welcome, Frank.
Hi everybody. I'm probably going to be quick because the Minister pinched most of my speech. But let's have a look. I want to talk a little bit at first about my role. I'm the first person in this role. It was born out of a procurement strategy for the Games. And it's one of those jobs where, and I've had a couple of these, you're the first one in it, so you're kind of building that plane as you're taking off. But this has been a really good one. It's been about a year. These are the things I think it is at the moment, and that's not to say that these things won't change, but this is where I stand at the moment. The role really sits around certainly recruiting champions. I find that champions across government, particularly the Queensland Government, are really important. Queensland Government procurement, for those who aren't familiar, is built around an agency-led model. So yes, there's centrally enabling functions from Queensland Government procurement or within HPW, such as policy work, advice, tools, things like that. However, each agency is responsible for their own procurement. They each have their own policies, procedures in place. Hence, I think recruiting champions for small and family businesses within each agency becomes incredibly important. It is an advocacy role, so I do spend a lot of time talking about small and family businesses with government buyers, regardless of where they are in the state or what size department they work within. I provide expert advice to buyers, and I want to come back to that one in a minute. I provide expert advice to small businesses. It's important to understand that I am a team of one, certainly at this stage. So while I cannot be a champion or an advocate or an agent for every small business I meet, I can certainly talk to them about the sorts of things I'm talking to you about today, and I do that. That makes up a vast part of my role. Flipping back to, and I just want to flip back a little bit to expert advice to buyers. We tend to spend quite a bit of time in government talking about what small and family businesses need to do, and it is important, need to do to become trusted and valued suppliers to the Queensland Government. As this role's developed, I've discovered there's actually quite a lot we need to do as well. And I think this recent change in government has highlighted that there's more we can do from government to actually make government procurement opportunities more accessible to small and family businesses. And the Minister touched on a number of those things earlier, so we'll talk a little bit more about those. Much of the first part of the job is about planning, designing and actioning and delivering what we see as the priorities. I can't be an agent for every small business, but where I see unique offerings from unique small businesses and I know where that buyer is or I know where those buyers are, I certainly do spend some time delivering some of those real opportunities and actual procurements. The Queensland Government putting small business first. So this is the bits that, and I won't spend too long here because certainly the Minister articulated it far better than I can. There's no doubt that this government has been very loud and proud about some of its priorities for small and family business. That's some of them there. The Minister touched on many of those. It's worth noting that the Queensland Government, I think that's actually $26 billion per year now. You know, that's a lot of money. Now, while my role was initially primarily about the games. The games is the light on the hill, right? We're going to spend $1 gazillion, as you can see, between now and the games and beyond. So while we use the games as a light on the hill, it's really about changing behaviour and changing the way we interact with the Queensland business communities. And the games is a really useful, exciting tool to try and change the way we do that. The Minister talked about the Small and Family Business Action Statement. Like the Minister, I commend that to you. I encourage you to have a look at that. It does give you a very good sense of what this government's priorities are. Where my role comes in, and that of my colleagues, and indeed that of buyers across government, is actually implementing those priorities, understanding what the government wants us to do and looking for really smart, efficient ways to make that happen. And that's the phase we're in at the moment. A really good example of that is the Queensland procurement policy is currently under review to ensure that it does align very well with this government's priorities, and ensure that that authorising environment is in place. And it's then drilling down and working with buyers and agencies about the how we actually act on that authorisation to change. The government has been loud and proud. What is important to them is, diversity in their supply chains, because with that comes innovation. Increasing the opportunities for small and family businesses across the state. They are certainly not shy about an absolute commitment to regional businesses. That became really apparent to me recently when I was working with my Games colleagues around their 100-day review. I could tell that the questions they were asking me about small and family businesses across the state was very much about across the state. How do we ensure that the love is shared outside of the southeast corner? It's obvious that is very important to this government, perhaps unsurprisingly. I'm not going to spend too long digging into each and every one of these. This is a slide that just represents the fact that there is already a lot of really very good supports out there for small businesses. I'll ask Matt if we can share this after the event to ensure, because as you can see, it's full of links. They're not much good to you unless you actually have them. Business Queensland site is probably the go-to place at the moment. It's fair to say, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school to say, like the Minister alluded to, we can probably do better in making that easier to navigate, making it easier to find things. What I would say at the moment is, as you visit these, persist. Sometimes it will take you down rabbit holes and you'll need to find your way back, but there is, and I've been through it, but there are some real gems in there. There are some very, very good tools, assistance, advice buried in there somewhere. While we work on making that more accessible, I would recommend to you that some of these tools, advice, guidance are really very useful. So I commend that to you. Have a look at it. It's really good. This one's very important. If you are a small and family business, or indeed a business of any size, there is gateways into government. You are probably aware, but if you're not, we are transitioning away from queue tenders into the Queensland procurement solution. It's a vendor panel solution. So the same platform used by many local governments. When we get there, it will make it easier, because once you're registered, you will be registered for both state and local government opportunities. And I think that's important. Really important to think very carefully about describing yourselves on there and making sure that you get the right opportunities, the ones that are really in your wheelhouse, turning up in your inbox. So really important to be registered, and there will be a link sent to you. Really important to be registered with the new Queensland procurement solution to understand, to know. Otherwise you kind of become invisible to government, right? So it's incredibly important to know, because it will include a marketplace that buyers from across the state will be able to find you. They'll be able to easily find you, and they'll be able to more easily engage with you. as far as the games are concerned, being careful not to speak too far out of school, but they are also looking to link with this via a games-specific portal. That portal will be used to ensure that the opportunities related to the games are going to be very obvious to everybody that goes in there. If you are interested in the games, it is really important to use this portal because you will be invisible to the games buyers unless you do. So it'll probably come out around September. I hope I'm not committing them too early, but that's when it'll come out. It will not only make it obvious to you as to what packages of work are likely to come out and when. The reason it's important that we want you to register in there is it will allow the buyers from the games to better understand the market. So if you are registered in there, you will be visible. They will have a much better understanding of the market capability, and then they can design their actual tender processes via the Queensland Procurement Solutions. They can design those tender processes to meet the market, and that will allow them to better prioritise local. So please get registered in all those places when the time is right. Couple of hints and tips. Know your customer. It's really important. This one's really important, and I apologise if I'm telling you how to suck eggs, but if you're going for a gig with, I don't know, DESI or DSET or whatever they're called now, Environment and Science, or DESI, there you go. You know, it's really important to get on their sites, understand what's important to them. I mean, it's an obvious one, right? They're going to be really interested in your green credentials. If you're working in the Indigenous space, understand what's important to them. Where do your values align to the customer? And make sure you put that up in lights. Customise what's important to the buyer. There are some really useful tools, the forward procurement pipeline. All of these links are available. The Queensland procurement policy under review when it's re-released. Important to know it now. The sentiments are important, but the new one will certainly make it very clear what's important to this government. A couple of really easy ones there. Websites are your shop front. Government buyers look at them. They always do. Make sure that they're up to date, easy to use. Capability statements are always important, particularly during the tender process. Don't make buyers read 10 pages or 15 pages. Keep it concise. Not all of your buyers are going to be tech savvy. I would suggest that one of the important points there is the last one. Don't assume that that buyer understands the jargon and technical speech that often accompanies the ICT space. Talk to them about the problem you solve, who you are and the problem you solve, rather than all the technical jargon. Because if it was me trying to buy a solution for my needs, I won't understand the technical jargon, I won't get it, but I will understand if you talk to me about the problem you're solving for me. Don't oversell. Don't become the stalker. 97% of the time, they won't need your services. But it is really important that they remember who you are. So there's a subtle way of doing that. Concentrate on the solutions and benefits that your product or service delivers. When you are tendering, when you do get to that point when you're asked for a tender, consider collaboration. So this is particularly for small and family businesses, right? You might have a really good solution and a really good offering if you team up with another small business or indeed a larger business. Testimonials are really important. It's all about the evidence, but testimonials, it actually matters less what you say about yourselves and it matters more what your previous customers say about you. So many tenders don't conform and they end up on the no pile straight away because there's 300 tenders. The easiest way to cull it is to get rid of the ones that don't conform. So concentrate on making sure it conforms. Meaningful feedback, I do want to touch on that. It is incumbent on us as government buyers to provide meaningful feedback to you about whether you win that tender or not. So please make sure that you seek that feedback. A really good way to do this is not to just turn up at the meeting. Think about what you want to know. What are the questions that you want answered about that tender process? Send them to the department, to the buyer, a week before. Give them the opportunity to prepare those responses. That actually will serve you much better at the point of the meeting or the telephone call or whatever it might be. Insist on meaningful feedback. That's my contact details. I look forward to working with small businesses to ensure that this government is able to meet those priorities and its commitments to small businesses from across the whole of the state, not just the southeast corner. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Frank. Shared a number of hints and tips. He made mention of the Queensland procurement system. I can let you all know, for those of you that my team deal with, we are on the journey of transitioning to that solution as well, so you will get some information shortly about registering on that platform. I encourage you all to do so. Similarly, thank you for sharing some deeper information about the priorities for this government, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities for everyone here today to have a look into. And it does sound like that perhaps we might have another follow-up session on our journey of our refresh of how we make that information and tendering a bit more seamless and easy for everyone in industry. We'll move into our Q&A session now, so I'd like to invite Jane, Carlo, Jeremy and Frank to join me back on the stage and to offer everyone here today the opportunity to ask some questions. For those of you in the room, we have a couple of mics that will roam around, so please pop your hand up if there's anything that you would like to ask. And for those on the live stream, you can now send any questions via the stream chat window.
Yeah, thanks, Stefan. Yes, I think that's a great idea. Certainly the Mentor for Growth program, which matches industry mentors with businesses to, for those that aren't familiar, to assist them through that sort of business, those different business phases, has been most welcome and very successful. If there's a way to tweak it to ensure that agencies get a better understanding of particular industries. Obviously my shtick is small and family businesses, so I would want any of that sort of program to certainly have a Queensland smaller businesses focus in there as well, because I think that adds extra value to Queensland communities along the way. But yeah, I think it's worth exploring. Let's talk some more about what that might look like.
Hi guys, Bart Hassel from Third View Consulting, a small business in human centred design here in West End. Just a question about, for Frank, about how the new procurement offering is going to coexist with existing panels. There's quite a bit of delay on quite a few of the panels. They're being sort of reviewed, and it's putting us in a difficult position where we can't actually respond for work until they're resolved. So just wondering, professional services panel and some of the departmental panels, just wondering if there's any update on that.
Yep, the professional services panel. I hear a lot about the professional services panel. Can I talk generally in panels? I think that the technology offered by, and this is a very sort of general statement to start with, I think the technology offered by the Queensland Procurement Solution and other platforms like it may have a really interesting effect on supplier panels. So when I say panels, I'm talking about standing offer arrangement, preferred supplier panels. You're probably all familiar with them. They're quite common across governments, regardless of the jurisdiction. I think they will always have a role. However, there are panels for all sorts of things, right? And I look at the platforms that are available now, and I think, okay, if I'm in Mackay and the government, like the previous government, is committed to local supply. If I'm in Mackay and I need widgets, why would I go to a panel set up in Brisbane for widgets which might have been in place for 5, 6, 8 years, therefore hasn't been refreshed and therefore doesn't necessarily reflect the market in Mackay? Why wouldn't I go to the Queensland Procurement Solutions, which is always updated and has addresses all through it, and go, okay, well, just show me all the widget manufacturers in Mackay, including the Indigenous social enterprise, businesses owned by women, you know, all those attributes will be in there, and I can create my own bespoke panel, rather than relying on one that might have been 5 years old, based out of the southeast corner. So generally speaking, I think it's worth watching what these new platforms are able to deliver and the effect on the more traditional established panels. I think that that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. In relation to those panels that are there, in relation to the professional services one, I think it's imminent. I am probably going to create some angst by saying I think that there is a problem, and this isn't throwing stones, because I think procurement teams across government have been under incredible pressure, and they're much smaller now, and procurement is seen as the silver bullet for everything, and it's the lever is constantly being pulled. So procurement, very much smaller procurement teams across government are having to respond to all sorts of things a lot more regularly. So to be fair on them, this isn't always easy, but is it good enough that they ask that procurement processes for panels ask that you respond in 4 weeks, but take 4, 6, 7 months to actually be established? No, it's not fair, but there are reasons for it. I think that one particularly was an interesting one because it was right on the cusp of the election, so there's some things around that. There's work to be done on how those panels operate. I think the environment itself around the technology will shift things over time, not quickly. I think it is a very well recognised problem, particularly around the length and closed shop nature of some panels. I know the ICT one is always open, is that right?
Not anymore. So I was just back to your question. So we manage 33 ICT procurement panels. I think about 7 or 8 have gone live already on vendor panel. I'm sure you're referring to the 1303B, which is our general services panel, which is going to be phased out later on this year. So there is a new one. It's coming. That we have a team working on all of that right now. So hopefully by the end of June, I think, is the target. All of our panels will be on vendor panel.
Yeah, and there does seem to be a general shift and a desire to refresh more regularly. So it's just language, but instead of standing offer arrangements which tend to be in place for too long and are a closed shop and don't allow for small innovative businesses to get on there easily, I'm observing a shift towards panels that are refreshed more regularly, opened annually at least, or indeed always open. What you risk there, though, is there's a balance there, right? Because you don't want to necessarily end up with the yellow pages of everything. There has to be a level of pre-qualification to make them of value to the buyers.
Okay, one more question. Otherwise, we'll call it a wrap. I'm not going into the middle again.
So any specific advice from the point of view of we've talking to some different departments, identify a problem, kind of feel pain points, do everything like that, go through the process to get to the thing. Oh, we have to go, IT and everybody has told us we have to go and look at the existing solutions which haven't worked for 5 years and everything like that. But we need to go through the process of doing that. And in doing that, they promise that they'll do it, and then we talk to them 12 months later. They've still done nothing, but they also haven't procured with us. Like, any suggestions around why that happened, whether it should happen, anything we can do to make that a more seamless experience?
There's probably little you can do individually except ensure that that frustration is heard. It has been. I'm not I must admit, I'm not particularly familiar in any way with the ICT space.
I'll have a go. So yeah, look, there is obviously as part of government, we do need to make sure that we maximise and leverage what we've already invested in, and you probably hear that all the time when you're a smaller industry partner. So that is something that we are required to do. We've purchased something, we're licensed for it. It's very challenging for us to justify going and getting something else that's already within what we've purchased. So you will hear that maximising or leveraging what we already have, and we're on that journey. But we also recognise that our ERP or our large-scale solutions that we have invested in don't always do everything that we need, and that's a fact. We're equally as challenged, I think, internally in terms of our funding and governance approvals. So sometimes it's not because we don't want to reach out or we don't want to engage with you. It just takes a lot of time to go through those processes. So I hear your frustration and I do recognise it. I don't know what the answer is to it. I suppose just continuing to reach out, not the overselling bit, but continuing to reach out and touch base. And we also need to work harder at working our way through some of those internal challenges we have to get the job done.
Government procurement people, actually it's not always procurement people, it's often the business units, right, that are actually doing the buying. The procurement staff are just advising and helping, right, just to be clear. Quite often those buyers can be a bit hard to find and pin down. Traditionally, there's been this idea that we couldn't possibly have relationships with suppliers because that might be showing preference to one supplier over another. I think that's slowly changing. Don't be the stalker, but do make sure that your important buyers are aware of who you are and the problems you solve. Use those relationships and ask them to talk to other buyers about who you are and what you solve.
And we also welcome, that review of the procurement processes, because as a consumer of the service, it is challenging for us as well to navigate through that. So the opportunity to have more refreshed supplier lists, more opportunity to broaden, what we're looking for, it will be a good thing too.
Okay, thank you everyone. I think we've run out of time for extra questions. I will just close out with a few small elements. First of all, I just wanted to thank you, Jane, Carlo, Jeremy and Frank, for your presentations and insights today. Really appreciate the time that you've invested in joining us today. For everyone that's attended, you'll receive a survey about today's content. Please provide us with your feedback so we can provide value at these events into the future. And for any inquiries relating to any of the briefings, please go to the Business Queensland website. I really hope that you don't get lost down a rabbit hole. I hope you do find it quickly, but if you don't, please reach out to our Partners in Technology team and we'll help you find your way. Today's presentations have been recorded and will appear on the Business Queensland website shortly. I'd like to thank our PiT team and all of the supporting staff who contributed and coordinated this event today. I'd like to thank the State Library and our catering team, AbFab. And finally, thank you to everyone who has attended today, in person and via the live stream. I really hope that you've found this morning's presentations informative, and I'd like to ask you to please join us for tea and coffee and networking in the Queensland Terrace. Thank you.